Yo, 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 yo. I'm about 4 minutes late. Do forgive me all. How's everybody doing? Welcome tonight, Mr. EDA from the Entrepreneur Advancer. Hope you're all well. I'm going to be joined by my brother Debs shortly. Hope you guys are. How's everybody doing? My brother Debs from the Stock Pickers Academy will be joining me any second from now. So tune in. Get your seats warm. Get some snacks. Let me blow my nose if I start looking like one of those funny people online. But welcome. Just waiting for Debs to join us. I hope everybody has had a blessed day so far. Let me know, how's your day been? How's everyone's week been so far? Has it been productive? How are you coping during this pandemic? Do let me know. Just waiting shortly to see if man like Debs from the Stock Pickers Academy is here, and he'll be joining me any second from now for this live. How's everyone's day going once again? How's everybody so far? Hope you're all ready to learn all things stocks and shares and everything else in the middle of it. Can you guys hear me? Do let me know if you guys can hear me or if my sound is low. And once again, for those of people that are not aware of what's going on, if you go to my Instagram profile, you'll see that I'm going to be doing some interviews, and we'll be doing some workshops with various people talking all things business, growth, their journey, entrepreneurship, and more. So you guys can hear me. I'm just waiting for Debs to see where he's at. Where is he? Come on. Where are you, mate? I know he was messaging me earlier. I've actually had a headache most of the day, so if I'm a little bit sluggish today, do forgive me, guys. All right, let's see where they are. Let's see where this guy is. He hasn't joined us yet. There you go. Then a request. So Stock Pickers Academy. If you guys are not following Stock Pickers Academy, you guys should be following them, because there's many ways to invest. I always say that not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur, but everybody should have another stream of income, no matter the size. That could be making pennies to pounds, thousands, and whatever. But yeah. Hey, my bro, how you doing?
I think my camera's a bit done out there.
It's a little sharper now. How are you?
1 second, bro.
The man himself. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me kill this thing, and can I leave and come back? Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, that's fine. Do that. So we can see Debs is having a little bit of trouble somewhere, probably the internet connection or whatever. And people are always trying to call me during my lives. For the whole day, I get no disturbance. Then straight away, someone tries to call me. But yeah, remember, guys, while we're waiting for Debs from the Stock Pickers Academy to jump in, please remember, please remember to be have any questions ready. This is your opportunity to ask any question underneath the sun pertaining to business, pertaining to investments. If you have any questions, any tips and so forth, or anything that you'd like to know, find out. There's going to be a great journey. How you doing, bro? Welcome back. I was just kind of sharing with everybody. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
All right, I was just sharing with everybody what we're looking forward to today. Also be aware that tomorrow, David will be sharing a workshop via Zoom. The link for that workshop is in my bio. So if you go to the bio on my Instagram page, you could find out where to join in with that, which will be taking place from 8 p.m. tomorrow. And Debs is going to be giving us nuggets pertaining to everything that we're going to be learning about stock shares and everything else. But before we kind of get into it, I want to know about the man behind the brand. So Mr. Debidan Osekita, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from.
My name is Debidan Osekita, as they say in Nigeria. Or Osekita, as my teachers try to change it. Yeah, I'm 31 years old. I was born in Greenwich, raised in Peckham, still live there. And yeah, from Peckham, I went to primary school there, 2 primary schools. Then I went to St. Thomas de Apostle College. That's when I met Emmanuel, and it wasn't friends at first. So Emmanuel's actually in my brother's year, which is a year above, and I was I was a troublesome one back then. I was rude to everyone. So my reputation wasn't great, but I used to play football with their year when my year didn't have football anymore. So I had to hustle my way and be nice to people. But yeah, I was I was a wild one. I went through school, managed to do well in my GCSEs. At the time, I actually did get the best results in the school's history, and then went off to get a scholarship to a sixth form called City of London, where I studied 6 A levels. I studied maths, further maths, physics, chemistry, economics, and additional further maths. And then I went to the University of Warwick to study maths, operational research, statistics, and economics. And then I was able to land a role after doing some internships at various places at Goldman Sachs, which at the time was still is the best investment bank in the world. I was hired as a trader to do a specific role. I had nearly 30 interviews for that role.
30? 30?
Yeah, it was. The philosophy is if you get in, then you already have 30 people that you know. So actually, in hindsight, it was actually a good thing, because when I started, I felt comfortable because I had already met 30 different people.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
But along the way, I'll say the first thing I noticed is there were not that many black people on the trading floor at all, yet alone traders. So maybe I think 3. So it was very fly in the coconut ice cream for me. So I had to adapt quickly. And I'm a very confident guy. I'm a shy guy, but I'm a confident guy.
You're a shy guy, you're a confident guy. Which one?
I'm shy, but I'm confident. So yeah, if you see me at a party, you know that I'm out here. Whereas, typically when I'm by myself, I'm very happy to be at home. So I can be introverted sometimes as well. But generally, I'd say I'm pretty confident. But one thing I did have back then was a little bit of imposter syndrome, because, as you know, the South London accent is very strong. And it's a thing. It's a thing in the city where you can get hired you can not get hired because you have a South London accent. And I've heard that from recruiters. So it was, how do I adapt very quickly without baiting myself out, basically. That's how I felt for a lot of the time. But they made it quite comfortable for me. And I was able to do some time there before moving to a Jewish family office, where I did some more trading of lots of other different products.
So what was a Jewish family office?
Yeah.
What is
it? It's a bit like it's like managing, they hire traders to manage rich people's money. So instead of it being set up as a hedge fund or an investment bank, it's just a trading house. Sometimes it could be at someone's house. Literally, it could be only 30 people in the office controlling billions. So you could be trading billions. And yeah, this was interesting, because when I first started at Goldman, I got given a $10 billion book to manage. So I got trained how to manage a book. And this was 6 months in, I got given full responsibility for it. And I guess in hindsight, I didn't kind of realize how big that was until when I started applying for other jobs later. And I realized that you had whole teams managing a quarter of what I was being given the responsibility of myself. So I did really enjoy my time there, and developed a lot of skills, some of which I still use now, even with the Stock Pickers Academy, whether it's the work ethic, whether it's just that desire to create or improve worksheets that I use, or the watch list. And yeah, kind of working in 4 different places. So the last role I had was in 2018 in a quantitative hedge fund. And what they do is they use mathematical models and code and machine learning to program robots to trade the markets. And I learned so much there, and I had to pick up a lot of new skills as well. I don't have a developer background. I had to learn Python. I had to learn, hone in on my VBA. I had to learn
how to code.
Yeah. Yeah. So now it's a case of I've learned 4 different styles of investing. I take the best out of all 4 of them and I package it together to form a new strategy, which I've created from scratch myself. Everything I teach in my sessions, they're not. I don't think anyone else has put it together the way I have, because a function of what I've done basically is I've taken my experience and I've taken the best of what I've learned from all those different experiences and I've put it all in one place. And number one, to do that, you had to have worked in all those different types of institutions. And most people in the city won't do that. You're either working as a trader in an investment bank for a long period of time and maybe land a role in a hedge fund, or you work in a hedge fund and you just climb the ladder there. It's very rare you get someone who's worked in a family office, a hedge fund, and an investment bank, just because it's career instability, put it that way. So I'm in a interesting position in terms of the different types of knowledge that I've gained, and now I'm putting it together to create the I call it the machine, which is the model that I use for stock pickers.
Okay, I'm gonna pull it back a bit. Thank you for sharing that great introduction. But I'm gonna pull it back a bit. Like right now, everyone's seeing the wonderful Des with the shirt shield. He's even got his little kind of slouch shoulder.
Well, the lighting is dead here.
Oh,
the
really?
lighting is dead. Can you guys see me properly? I feel like I'm in a shadow.
We can hear you. You're not exactly centered, but we can hear you.
It's Clubhouse.
It's fine. We can hear you. And I think, yeah, that's nice. That's good. And I think I'm going to pull it back a bit because I think I've been honored that many of the guests I've had so far, I've had the opportunity to do live with them and just share candidly and see the journey of things. And I think when I first met Devs, as you were saying, it was the troublemaker. But what people are not aware of, the Osekita household, how many? 4 brothers, right?
3 brothers, yeah.
3 brothers. The Osekita household. I'm going to share a short story. When I met, so before Devs came to St. Thomas, shout out to everyone from STAC.
Come on.
St. Thomas Apostle, Sixth Form College in Southeast London, Maroon Blazers, that we used to either rip just due to playing football in the cage on coursing, as we called it then. I don't know what the new generation call it now, but that's what we called it at that time then. And there was a guy called Falayo Osekita, who was in my year, Debiden's older brother. This guy's brains was phenomenal. Top 2 intelligent people in our year, Falayo and Ademola, those 2 boys. 2 Nigerians just running it, galore. And then Debiden comes. And then he's now leading it in terms of academia, studies, intelligence, but he was also a phenomenal footballer. Like, I don't know why. I was like, how do you have intelligence? And he was pretty good at football. But Debiden was cheeky. And I think, if Debiden doesn't mind me saying so myself, Falayo was actually a year above his year grade. And so was Debiden. I was like, hold on. You guys are leading that year group, but you're already a year above. You're basically punching above your weight and you're already leading it. And your brother comes up and he's another 3rd genius. The question I wanted to begin with is, what instilled this? Would you say it was genetic, you inherited it from the family, or would you say that this is just something that you was ingrained, like the discipline? Like, what was your upbringing? Was you born in London? Was you born in Nigeria? Tell me about the foundations of that. Because I was born in. Intriguing.
Yeah, that's a good one, because I was born in Greenwich Hospital, which has been shut down now. And I do feel a lot of my success is down to my parents and God, obviously. So my parents were disciplinarians, but they're very big on education. They didn't have much. When my parents came to the country, what a lot of people don't realize is they literally had nothing. And I don't mean like they had a bit of something and, you know, trying to make it work. My parents came to the country with like £50 in their pocket and literally had to hustle. I think they stayed the first night in the taxi driver's house, right? Because they didn't have anywhere to go. So they had to re-hustle and go through the benefit system and then scramble to put food on the table and then get degrees at your South Bank universities, your Greenwich, and then really hustle their way to something, right? My mum both parents became teachers, and by becoming it, I mean, when I was 7, my mom was working in a sausage factory, right? Now we laugh at it, but back then it was like she'll bring home these sausages. I've never seen sausages like that before, right? So I tasted the finest sausages, and yeah, like I've witnessed that journey. So it was from sausages, making sausages for a living, to but at the same time, my mum was a fantastic mum. So she would take us to nursery, make sure there was always food when we got home. And despite not having much, one day my dad decided that he wanted to paint silks, right? So my dad decided to paint silks. So he painted silks, and everyone started painting silks. 3-year-old me was painting silks,
Wow.
right? So long and short, they eventually started making ties, bow ties, cummerbunds, wedding sets for their friends, and that was how food was getting onto the table, right? Then eventually they're able to land a contract with Harrods. So Harrods had exclusivity. So when I hashtag Osakita silk ties, like these are the same ties that are 20 years old,
Wow.
that used to sell in Harrods. So that's how food was getting put on the table. And their university was getting paid for, right? 3 boys, right? And we were in a council house in Peckham, North Peckham Estate. And that was an experience, right? You know what council housing is like, cockroaches. I don't even talk about this stuff, but yeah, cockroaches, you know, stuff not working, no hot water sometimes, but at the same time, we had to go to school.
Tell me a challenging time of growing up in a council estate in Southeast London. And
I mean, do you know what? I used to walk around the estate and I used to get lost. And I'll be walking and running around for an hour because everywhere looked the same.
yeah, that Peckham block.
Yeah, like everywhere, it was like COD. It was like COD to get home.
What do you mean by COD for some of our listeners?
Call of Duty. You know, it's funny. I don't even play the game, but I just know that you got bare different views.
Yeah.
So, like growing up, it's funny. Like now, I talk about the cockroaches and the 3, what, you know, 3 bedrooms, 5 of us in the house. But I never really talk about this stuff because back then that was the least of my worries. I mean, you're used to your surroundings, and you know most other people are going through the same, so it's not an issue because you see everyone else doing. It's when you come out, then you realize really where you are living, right? And the conditions you were living in and surviving in. I mean, growing up, I had uncles and aunties that would visit us in Peckham, in Peckham, and they will never come back. So there's a big gap in my life in a way where some of my parents' friends, there's like 10, 15 years, never saw them. But when my brothers get married, when, you know, as we grew up,
they all come out now.
Started seeing them.
I remember you when you were small. It's that big, you're like, where were you? All these years?
Yeah. And the thing is, they just didn't want to come to Peckham. Bear in mind, there's already quite a lot of Nigerians in Peckham.
Yeah.
Maybe it was fear of the area or whatever. Peckham had a notorious reputation back then, right? So all these kind of struggles were what I'll say I went through in terms of mentally, just, you know, you kind of had to be a loner to survive in Peckham. Because if you weren't a loner, you're going to get involved in something. Fortunately for me, I was okay at football, right? And you get a little bit of respect sometimes if you're good at football on the ends. And Tech, which is the Damilola Taylor Centre, was where we used to play, and that was literally opposite my house. So my parents could see us playing football outside from the living room upstairs. So it made it easier for us to just be out whenever we wanted, and I was always kicking ball. Now,
was you able to have that balance, or was your parents, did they offer you that balance?
I learned my times tables by the age of 6. I knew them.
Up to what? 12?
Up to 12, yeah. Yeah. I knew my times tables by the age of 6.
So
but it wasn't by choice. It wasn't by choice. That wasn't by choice. I didn't wake up and say, "Oh, let me learn my times tables." I learned with the stick. You know that one, yeah? Yeah, we learned with the cane. And didn't take me very long to learn them, but I do know I learned with the cane,
Mm.
maybe a couple of months,
Mm.
right? And then that gave me a lot of confidence in school. And then when you have confidence in school, you do well, because I mean, I remember in secondary school, people were still learning their times tables. So imagine you've learned it from like reception year 1.
Mm.
Like school comes a little bit of a walk in the park, because it warms up the other areas of your mathematical brain, and before you know it, you have self-motivation
100%.
to get that feeling again of coming top. And I think that's what it was, because my parents never got involved in, I don't remember my parents even getting involved in our education much after the age of 7, 8.
It was on autopilot.
Like that was not a problem. The problem was behavior for me anyway.
Yeah.
They don't even look at my grades. They don't look at my grades on my report. They look at the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. So once you become self-motivated as a child, you have that self-motivation. I used to finish a lot of my homework in lesson. So for me, going home was football. And funny enough, I didn't grow up with PlayStation and computer games. So all that time was just spent playing football outside. I remember the first time I got Sky TV. And this was at uni, which is funny, but this was at uni. I was already in uni.
On campus uni or private accommodation?
No, I mean in the house, the family house.
Oh, family house, all right, cool.
Yeah, because like the reality is we couldn't afford it. But of course, like you go to school, right? And it's funny because people talk about Andy Gray, they talk about all this stuff, and I missed that whole period because I never had Sky. It was match of the day. I knew Gary Lineker. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, in a way, that was enough, because I was playing football, I was watching football, and everything else was studying and doing other hobbies. I had other hobbies like playing chess. But football was like probably what I spent 90% of my spare time doing, playing. And I'll choose playing over watching. So I would go out and I'll spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours playing football. And of course, we watched a lot of television. It's just there are some channels that we didn't know. So you go to school and there's certain conversations you can't get involved in. In a way, there were benefits to that, in the sense that it was easier to focus on football or focus on academia, and then everything else in between. But I kind of had to live a little bit of a sheltered life growing up, especially after Damilola got killed.
And I want to touch on that as well. And you literally put me straight into that. And I feel what I was going to say is, I'm going to share 2 things. I'm going to share a story later on about your older brother Falaya, of my experience with him when we was in the same class in English, and a few things. But I want to touch on the Damilola Taylor situation, because we knew him, right? And he was your neighbor. You knew him more than I did. And I knew him through my friend Felix, who was, I think, pretty close neighbors to you as well, if not the same block, Felix Adams. And I remember when that situation arose, many parents were on edge. Like, am I going to let my child go out this, that, and the other? And that's what it was for people like myself that lived in another side of Peckham when you was in the north side of Peckham. How was that experience for you? One, for you with how your parents dealt with it, and 2, for you mentally and emotionally, because sometimes I realize that we experience things as youngsters that we don't actually realize the side effects it has on us till we become adults.
I mean, for me, it had more of an effect on me from a motivation point of view. Like, I know the guys that did it, but I don't just know them. They grew up in my house. They were my direct next door neighbors. I know their whole family tree. They know mine. Like, they would sleep over in my house. I'll sleep over at their house. Like, we grew up from the age of 2, 3, 4. We'd go to nursery together, right? And my first experience of nursery was my best friend at the time, when I was 2 or 3. Me and him basically used to run nursery. We used to decide who gets on to use the scooter. There was one scooter, and literally just me or him. And yeah, call it. It was a bit wild back then. But yeah, he died when he died. His whole family got burnt. It was an arson attack.
I remember that.
So I was already like, I experienced this kind of thing from an early age, and it made me maybe detach from from wanting to have a lot of close friends, put it like that. But that actually helped me later on, because that desire not to be really, really close with anyone, just, you know, touching distance, helped me to actually not end up in the wrong company. But then at the end of the day, growing up on the neighborhood, my best friends ended up being the guys who did the murder. And I remember them, and they were not the kind of guys who people were afraid of. They were just bullies. But they wouldn't try that with me, because they just wouldn't. They wouldn't even try it with my older brother, because they were afraid of him somehow. Right? And my brother's not aggressive like that. So growing up, people change. And obviously they got more involved in the wrong thing. And it was funny because their parents used to use our family as a kind of spend time with these guys to keep you out of trouble. Right? But yeah, eventually that didn't work out. And when that happened, on the same day, the police were, you know, very, very common to hear police banging down doors early hours of the morning. That was a common sound on the neighborhood. So the same day they'd arrested them. So it was then funny watching on TV, £10,000 reward for X, Y, Z, and it's like, you know the police kind of knew who did it, or, you know, same day. So how it affected me was I became very, very determined to, like, because you see a life taken, and then you suddenly realize, whoa, okay, yes, you happen to know the guys who did it, but there are other dangerous people about, and that could easily have been you. Right? So life became more important now. Like, well, actually, you live once, you better make the most of it. So I went into school, and, you know, I was still getting in trouble and getting sent out of lessons a lot, but I think maybe year 9, year 10 was where I started to calm down, because I had a report book from year 3 in primary school. So I was used to the whole cycle of get in trouble, get home, get your beats.
How old was you when Damilola Taylor passed, if you can remind me?
I was in year 7, I think.
Yeah, just
so must have been 10.
Yeah.
Because I started secondary school at the age of 10.
10, yeah.
I think I was in year 8, actually, so I would have been 11.
Okay, cool.
So it was still the same kind of age. But in Peckham, you grow up quickly, bro. I mean, sometimes I look at 11-year-olds and they're so... In fact, I remember going to uni and people were still very... you could tell that they still had the mind of like a 5-year-old, 10-year-old. Whereas in Peckham, you don't realize that you're forced to grow up quickly. Like, just being sharp, like how you carry yourself,
100%.
you know, where you walk, and that sharpness, street smartness, that you just have to have. Otherwise, you could just end up dead.
Did you ever have any experience with, after the Damilola Taylor situation, with anybody pertaining to guns, knives, or stick up, or anything in that manner?
Yeah, there are a few encounters.
Yeah. And
there are a few encounters, and there was one that I remember vividly, because this one I easily could have lost my life. It was over football. Got into an argument with someone on the football pitch. Somalian guy, and you know how it is, you touch one and all their friends, relatives, brothers, they're coming for you. So it was literally like a Debs hunt in Peckham. And I hid in a shed in some garden, because by then I knew North Peckham Estate, but literally they were coming for me, and I had to escape. So I knew which gardens I can jump in and hide. So yeah, I legged it, and I found a shed to hide in, and I just stayed there for like 3 hours.
Yeah, wow, cool. The reason I asked that question, it brings me to the question on, would you say, especially within the financial world, sometimes they say it's dog eat dog, shark eat shark, and it's quite militant there. And just, what is the environment like? Obviously, I don't work in the sector or field that you worked in.
I know, bro. Someone in the comments says maybe I need counselling now. I don't need counselling, bro.
Don't worry.
I don't know who you are.
Just focus on this.
I don't need counselling.
Focus on the session. Don't worry. The comments are always going to be comments, and that's
yeah.
But I was just gonna say that. Would you say that that level of being able to adapt to environments where sometimes your life is literally, you're caught at knife point or gunpoint, would you say you've almost taken that into the corporate world when you worked in Goldman Sachs and some of the other?
Yeah, I'll say to be a good trader, you need thick skin, and you develop that being growing up in Peckham. You develop thick skin. School wasn't easy. You know how it is. You don't have the night trainers. The comments are coming. If you don't have thick skin, then the desire to end up in a, selling weed at the corner or anything else is there. That pressure to, see, I was always raised to be happy with whatever it is you got. So if it was Ascot trainers, then you got to smile. High tech, you know the ones.
High tech.
It's funny because in stock pickers, I do this trainers analogy and people know about it. And yeah, it comes from another place. But it's, I've always been content with what I had, right? I've never, ever felt the need to steal or to get another way to, go the illegal route to get money. And I got my fair share of comments in school. I wouldn't say bullied, right? Because I feel like if you use the word bullied, then it means that it got to you. Whereas I just had my way of dealing with it, right? If I was going to have a fight, we're gonna have a fight. If I was to cuss them back, I'm going to cuss them back. But the comments never really got to me, because if they got to me, I would have probably found some criminal way to level up so I wouldn't face the comments. But I just got used to them.
So it's the physical nature that you'll say that's really helped you when you in the financial sector.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trading, I mean, I remember a time where you can be in a position, right? Especially when you work in an investment bank, you're taking the other side of the Warren Buffetts of this world, Ray Dalio's. You're taking the other side of their trades because you're market making, right? And you go to a prop office or a family office, and you are taking positions, big positions in contracts, and if they don't go your way, you can't be having heart palpitations. You need to deal with it. So I think also being a sportsman also has contributed. So that combination of having thick skin but also being active, I think has definitely aided my career and my skill set.
I like that. Because Peckham was an experience. I'll share one story, and your brother Falai was online, and he probably doesn't remember this story, but I'll share it anyway. A little bit of an embarrassing one, but it has a phenomenal ending to it. And I've shared this when I've been invited to speak at organizations, schools, and companies and the like. And it kind of goes like this. Falai probably doesn't remember. And as I said, it starts boring. It starts a little bit funny, maybe a bit embarrassing, but it gets cool. So Falai, hold on to me, and Debs, hold on to me. We're in class now. Falai was writing, and if you know Falai, he writes super fast. And as he's writing, typical us boys. If you remember those days, we're in secondary school. Creaming our hands, and that wasn't even it wasn't the primary goal. We went to an all-boys school. I was wondering, Falai, why are your hands dry? Why are your hands dry? And he's like, oh, leave me alone. And going back to what you were saying earlier about the bullying thing, is like, bullying to some degree is how you choose to deal with it, right? Yeah. But I went on to do something phenomenal that day. He said, when I hold this pen a particular way, because of the speed I'm writing at and the grades that I want to obtain and the targets I have, when I have tried to almost overcream my hands, I never actually get that momentum of speed. What happened? The typical boys in our class, that was English class, I forgot our teacher's name. And they started like, oh yeah, whatever. They started laughing, as you remember. Don't worry. The story ends well.
I could have told this at his wedding, if you told me before.
Really, don't worry.
But
so I'm there now, and I was just watching. I was observing, and as I'm observing now, I see some of the boys that were quote unquote they're bullies, but they're not bad bullies. They're not. They're struggling to concentrate and learn in the classroom, right? And you have the Falios, the Felix. It wasn't Miss Kennedy, Miss Uttering, Miss Uttering, that's it, Miss Uttering, and there was Ademola, and Falai and Ademola were basically like the Messis and the Cristiano Ronaldos of our year group. So they went back and forth, and they used to compete, making sure they weren't getting A's, they were aiming for A stars. And I'll try and wrap this story up short. As they were getting those grades, the boys used to laugh for the whole year or 2 years in Miss Uttering's class. They laughed, they're like, whatever, Falai, man, look in your try hands, whatever. I find it interesting because unfortunately, some of those boys ended up they're not really doing even anything now. Some of them are in prison now, unfortunately. And the story I used to share this as an example was that Flower went on to work for Rolls-Royce. And it showed me that because he had a long-term thinking with what he wanted to obtain, rather than dealing with the pressures of what people thought of him in a classroom, I realized that it shows that having that mindset of thinking long-term was always had that delayed satisfaction and gratification than trying to please people in and around you that will make no financial impact on your life. And you had a very similar mentality. As you said, very single-minded, very focused, very driven. Despite people like, oh, will you come and play with the big boys? You're like, I'm going to play you. Would you say that kind of mindset, similar to what your brother had, has helped you when it came to being a trader, being somebody that wants to take things to the next level, or being in an environment like Goldman Sachs, where you're the minority amongst people?
Yeah, you've got to act like you belong. And that comes from school. I used to play football with your year, and you remember, right? I didn't care. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I could have.
We'll tell you to get lost. Don't play with your year. You're like, no,
yeah. I'll show you guys. Like, I always had this. I've always been able to adapt, but it's not just older people. My younger brother as well. Like, he will tell you that I've always been a networker. You see, that's why I didn't realize what the skill was until later. So you have to imagine, right? Made friends with guys in your year, made friends with guys in my brother's year. I used to play football with them as well. Like, it wasn't about age, it was just who's got the football. If my year doesn't have the football, then I'm gonna snake my year group and go to where the football is. And I'm gonna act like I belong, whether I'm playing with guys younger or guys older. I think that skill of just being able to adapt to any environment that I'm in, it helped me at Goldman, because at Goldman, everyone around me was MD, VP, partner, right? Just on that specific team. And you have to be able to crack jokes. You've got to be able to...
when you came in?
An analyst.
Analyst, okay, purely.
Yeah. So even at interview, you're being interviewed by partners, MDs, right? And you have to act like you belong. Like my performance at interviews, it was almost, even if I had to fake it, I was always going to act like I belong, like I can relate to people of different ages and experience levels and not be fazed. I'm someone that I'm not fazed by anything. And that came from maybe St. Thomas experience, where if you're fazed by something, then people are going to see that as a weakness. So it got to a point where people stopped cussing my trainers because they knew I didn't care anymore. Like, okay, I've got, you know, and my clapback was going to be very strong and loud. But you don't want that. So I got used to that. And it just became my motivating factor. Because everything that I went through, primary school, secondary school, sixth form, because the funny thing is, I got to sixth form and I was told by the careers lady that me choosing 5 A levels was too much because of the school I'd come from. And I was like, whoa.
Where did you
go? That was the first negative City of London school.
Oh, City of London, okay.
Yeah, and the way that came about is, and this is why I talk about opportunity. In our school, I was supposed to go to SFX or Haberdashers. I'd got the contracts, and SFX was the one that, for me, I wanted to go to. Now, my form tutor, Miss Byrne, she said, we had other guys. So the thing I struggled with at school was usually the people that do quite well are well behaved. Unfortunately for me, I don't know why, but
I just had the brains, but not the behavior.
Yeah, I had the brains, but not the behavior. So when the opportunities came up to apply for schools with scholarships, I didn't want to know, right? Because I just thought it would just be full of people who didn't look like me, etc., etc. So my form tutor, she knew that I was doing well academically, and it's funny because now I look back at it, some of my behavior was influenced by whether I liked the teacher or not. There's some teachers I never gave them problems, but I think there are a few occasions where someone might make a comment about your clothes or your trainers, and then you see a teacher laughing, right? And it's like, you're not going to have a good lesson today. In fact, you're not going to have another good lesson oh yeah, it's going to be very long for you, right? And I remember a guy, Mr. Eccles, in English. There's no way I'm going to be in his class and that lesson is going to go well. So yeah, he used to laugh when they crack jokes.
Cool.
But yeah, that's supply teacher treatment. So yeah, I mean,
how did you navigate that in terms of being a minority, a person of color, being a minority? Did that strive you on, where you said acting as if you belong? Was that, did you try and almost, where people change their accent, their tone?
I felt I had no choice. I felt I had no choice but to, because it's like you get thrown into the deep end, you got to start swimming or you drown. It's sink or swim. So I felt like I had no choice, but I also had the minerals to cope with it. And that came from how I grew up. It came from the environment that I was forced to live in, the people I was forced to grow up with. And I've got no regrets whatsoever. In fact, I had a fantastic childhood. When you look back at it, some people will say that you, yeah, it wasn't great. But when you're living in it, we Nigerians, suffering and smiling, you know, we enjoy ourselves no matter what.
Learn to dance in the rain.
Exactly. That's it. So I actually enjoyed my childhood. I enjoyed every little bit of how I grew up. It's just when you look back, you realize, whoa, okay, everyone else didn't grow up this way.
All right, cool.
And it made you who you are.
I want to ask you a few questions similar to that. I want to just kind of bring it on along because I'm aware I want us to take questions as well. And sometimes when questions come in, it flows. But just before the birth of Stock Pickers, there was an incident where my boy, my wonderful friend here, Deb's parents had a Jaguar. I'll never forget that long Jaguar that you guys used to roll into. A few years later, Debs graduates, gets his job, doing really well. He comes with a white Range Rover in the manor, Southeast London, in the areas that people call the ghetto, so to speak. A few weeks, well, not a few weeks, I think a year or a period later, the Range gets taken. But there's something, and this is just before the birth of things like Stock Pickers. Tell me, what was the journey of getting the Range, keeping the Range, and losing the Range Rover?
Do you know what? I've always been someone that doesn't spend my money on myself. Ask me to buy a present for someone else now, then the cash will just come out easily because I'm generous.
My birthday's
but
next month,
when it comes to like myself, I'm just very, I can live on the bare minimum. How can I explain it? I kind of feel like I can survive on little, and that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy life. Because when I do want something, I want to go to try a restaurant or I want to go to a country, I'll go. I went to Asia, I went traveling for 3-4 months. But in general, I don't spend frivolously. So I left a role and it took me 1 year to find a new job. Yeah. This was the Jewish family office. Things didn't work out there.
Is this before you bought the Range? Have you had the Range?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a whole year where things were just tough. It was so difficult to get back into an investment banking space because I'd taken the other path of trying to break out and be myself, because I'm an entrepreneur by my mind, which is probably what spurred me on to be a trader. Because that's a form of entrepreneurism, but in the workplace. And that year I went traveling, I did jury duty, but all along I'm applying, I'm getting like hundreds of rejections, right? And people say, oh, but you've got Goldman on your CV, you're a black male. And this is what you have to remember. And nothing better than turning down a black male as a trader who has worked at Goldman. So I used to get these interviews where people interview me and you can tell they just want to suss me out.
And there was
they got no intention of getting. Sorry
to interrupt you. Just there was a bit of stigma around that time around black male traders as well.
Yeah, because
some of the stuff that I can't remember.
There was Koika Adebowale had just had the $2 billion loss scandal with UBS, and this catch started influencing me in the workplace, where my trading limits were not being increased to reflect my performance. So eventually I had to leave, and yeah, that whole year was just a down year for me, like a struggle to just get back in. And you know, the city wants you to just leave that passion of yours and then just do something else.
Mm.
So it was actually one of my contacts who I used to trade with when I was at Goldman at Barclays, who actually referred me for a role internally. And he's very, very senior. He's like global head now at State Street. And he basically put my name in a hat for a role. I interviewed, and that's how I got it. But this took like a year. The thing is, hiring comes in cycles. So if you don't get a role in that January to May time on a trading desk, it's another year gone.
Really?
Right?
What is
Pretty
that
much.
transfer window?
It's transfer window.
Wow.
Because it's like now, like Christmas is coming, everyone's winding down their books. It's crazy. So you either give up and go and do something else where you use your trading skills like compliance, or you can go into internal audit, or you could go into there are other roles where you can use trading skills, but you're not a trader, you don't manage your book. And there's still fairly decent pay as well. But I knew I had a passion because there were not that many black traders when I started. And I'd seen so many quit because it's not easy financially, where, you know, you're not earning, you're relying on your savings are going down, but you kind of have to keep the faith.
And in that moment, you decided to buy a car?
No. So here's what happened. After I landed the contract, I bought the car out of anger. Put it that way. Yeah.
Oh, so
but also faith. But also faith. So I landed the role. It was a good contract. And at the time, do you know what's funny? I was still driving that BMW that I had. So I actually crashed one of my cars. It got written off. Thank God that I survived that one. So I actually said I'm going to buy exactly the same thing, exactly the same color, and I bought that. And then
remember, this is the road that you was in outside London.
No. That came after Barclays.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So when I landed the road at Barclays, I was like, I bought it out of anger. I think, like, just out of, you know, just to let the devil know kind of thing, rather than to show off to people. And it was always the kind of car I always wanted. But my brother will tell you, at home, I didn't want to get a new car. I was like, I'm okay with this one. And it was actually my parents, my brothers, everyone that just said, get it. They've been hassling me to get a new car for a long time. And I was just like happy with my O2 Reg, BM at the time. I was just happy to manage that. So yeah, I mean, I found a good deal at a discount. Stock pickers know Dragons Den mentality, buy at a discount, right?
All day.
So I got a fantastic deal. So I got it, and yeah, best decision ever. Like, it's funny because I always thought get a house first, but listen, you live once. If there's something you really like and you've got the financial capability to get it, get it.
Do you agree with
Enjoy the moment.
Do you agree with Jay-Z's quote that if you can't afford it twice, you can't afford it? If you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it.
Exactly. I could afford it. It wasn't going to stretch me. I knew, okay, I was going to get bonuses, and I knew I was okay. It wasn't like I spent beyond my means at all. Right? I was fine. And then I enjoyed the car. I moved roles, so I had to relocate to Guernsey to a hedge fund. I lived in Guernsey for 2 years, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed my time out there. I was playing, you know, top level football out there. I was working as well. I was living life, enjoying myself, you know. And when I got back to London, it was back to Peckham, and yeah, I just woke up one day. No, I didn't just wake up one day. It was like 6 p.m. and I usually play football at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. So I got the car now. Well, I left my house, and I'm always last minute. So like 15 minutes drive means I'm going to leave the house with 16 minutes leeway. So I'm now walking around, And you know how Peckham is. You got Morrison's all the way down there, and you got Queens Road. That's
Yes.
where I was living. That's where I live. And I basically didn't see my car where I thought I parked it. So I started creating scenarios in my head.
Did you think
So I
you
said,
probably
maybe,
parked it somewhere else? Or you're like, I'm sure I parked it.
yeah, I'm definitely parked it somewhere else. So here's me doing 10 toes around the block. 10 toes around the block. I must have done 2 laps. And then I thought, okay, maybe I went to Morrison's by car and then walked back. So it's there. So I'm doing 10 toes to Morrison's and it's not there. So I get back home and I'm like, no way can someone take the whip.
A whole range, not even a tire.
Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't imagine it. You don't see cars getting stolen in Peckham. You see other crimes, but not. Yeah, so I just accepted it was gone. And it's got a tracker as well. So I called the tracker people. They couldn't. That's when I knew it was gone. Yeah.
Professionals.
Yeah, that's when I knew it was gone.
Professionals in Peckham. And
then, yeah, I still had a lot of stuff, sentimental stuff in the car. I had Supermalt, one whole crate of Supermalt was there.
I said I had sentimental stuff in the car.
No, I had
Supermalt.
10 years worth of football boots inside there. I had like my fishing rod from Guernsey. Like, yeah, it was a lot, man. I had a few natives here and there. Some of my best t-shirts. Yeah, it was long. It's long.
Wow.
But it taught me something because since then I haven't actually bought another car yet. So I just thought, okay, let me get used to London without a car for now and see. So yeah, that was and that's when we spoke about it. Because it was like 1 week I had it and next week I didn't have it.
I think it was a week from when we was together. Literally a week. And
yeah.
But what's interesting about that?
That Supermalt definitely chilling on some hill in Bulgaria somewhere. That I'm sure.
I don't. But
yeah, these guys are sophisticated.
Your mindset has always been you. For people that know you well, and as you said, that thick-skinned nature is that you're upset, but you're like, we have to keep moving forward. We have to keep moving forward. So tell us, how did this kind of bring to birth Stock Pickers Academy? Because I remember we were having a chat in the car that day, and you remember? And we were talking about roles and everything that you might want to do. And I was like, there's so many things. But I spoke to him. One of the things I was saying to him, like Debs, like your mind is phenomenal. And sometimes when opportunities, as I said, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. And if you can't build a door, build a table. And when you build a table, it allows other people to come and join you. That to me, you deliver that within Stock Pickers Academy. Tell us about that journey.
So, Stock Pickers, I mean, I've always been someone that believes in the progression of my people, right? And I will sacrifice for my people, and people know that. When I was at Goldman, I was doing crazy hours. I was doing 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. some days because you got to work twice as hard to get half. That was a reality. And I felt like I had gaps in my knowledge, despite the fact that, you always have gaps in your knowledge. And I was so desperate to always fill those gaps. First in, last out. And I got used to that routine. People will remember my first 2 years after leaving uni in Goldman. You didn't see me at any birthday parties, you didn't see me at any weddings. I was like robotic, right? And that's not sustainable. But I had to be like that in that period to get to where I needed to get to learn what I needed to learn, and to perform how I needed to perform. And that's sacrifice. And I learned about sacrifice from a very young age, right? I had to sacrifice things that were nice. There was a point in time I couldn't even spend my money, really. I mean, where was the time to spend the money? But then I was saying, okay, you can't spend the money. Let's put it into projects in Nigeria. We're buying land, right? And yeah, I mean, that's why when I bought the range, I was like, okay, let me actually chop something. Let me chop small. It's been, what, 5 years now? Let me chop small. And you see, what people don't realize is with Stock Pickers, that started as a community project. It was never meant to be a business. That's me saying, listen, there's two sides. Number one, careers. Because we talk about generational wealth, and I said this the other day, there's generational careers. And this is where you increase the proportion of Black people who actually are in good careers. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the city. Just doing well for themselves from a career perspective. So I've been a mentor from primary school, bro. I used to help people with their homework. I used to show people how to spell Wednesday, right? From the very elementary thing. Anytime I've learned something and I saw someone who didn't know what I know, I've always been passing knowledge on. The only thing I didn't do is help people in exams, because there you're on your own, mate. I'm not sabotaging my GCSEs because you couldn't be bothered to learn. But in class tests, I will help people, right? I could see that some people, they struggled maybe, you know, and I'll help them before class, they could do their homework. But I'll always teach them how to do it. And also just give them the answers. I'll give them the answers, but then I'll come back and I'll show them how to do it, right? And
so
I've been like
that teaching spirit, isn't it?
I've always had that from school.
Kind of reflects your parents, because you said they're both teachers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
And I've always been able to take complex things and break them down into
practices.
Yeah. And that's what I used to do. That's what I used to do in primary school. I used to do it in secondary school. But the way it changes over time is your environment and your skills are changing. Right? So by the time I got to sixth form, it was helping secondary school people to pick the right sixth form. When I got to uni, it was helping secondary school kids and sixth form children to actually pick the right unis. I went back to SFX to give talks. I went back to Christ the King. I went to a lot of sixth forms whilst I was at Goldman when I didn't even have the time to. So I sacrificed even bits of my career at times to help people out, right?
Yeah.
Some of the people that I've mentored have actually overtaken me in my career. Some of them are VPs. Some of them are executive directors, right? And I'm not saying that to boast. I'm just saying that because I've never had a competitive spirit. I don't compete with my brothers. I don't compete with anyone. I compete with myself. That's it. Even in school, I was never watching, that person got a good grade, someone else's high achievement never ever motivated me. Because I'm not naturally driven like that. For me, did I do my best? Could I have done better? That's it. Rather than that person there did better and I could actually, that should inspire me to do better. I've never been that kind. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I don't see someone doing well and it inspires me. My role model is my parents. And it's not what they do, it's the heart they have. That's it. And the way they are.
Yeah.
How someone is what inspires me, not what someone does or what someone has. So I never really had role models. I never looked at someone and said, I want to be like that person. I didn't say I want to be like Warren Buffett. I never say I want to be like Howard Marks. What I say is there's something about that person that I like and I'd like to adopt.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's their personality, whether it's their laughter, whether it's their way of thinking. And so I can learn from that. I can learn from people. It's very different from, oh, you know what, I want to be like him one day. I don't really have anyone like that.
And I think that mentality is probably also what allows you to be laser focused, because you know that you have a servant's heart, a teaching spirit, and you know what you're called to do. As I always say, know your calling and act accordingly. And in this case, you're like, listen, I know what you know what you're called to do, and you're acting accordingly in that fashion, and that brings you that level of fulfillment. So as you said, Stock Pickers started almost like a group, a community, and it began to evolve. So
I used to say it in my chest, it will never be a business. I used to say it in my chest, the guys will tell you, never be a business. I didn't want to teach. I actually had the time in the group where I said, guys, this is not a group for teaching. This is not a group for learning. Listen, it's a group where I'm going to show you what I'm doing, and anyone else in the building who is investing should show us what they're doing too.
Yeah. And I remember that journey, because remember I was doing Forex alongside my other businesses, and he was like, Manuel, I really want to try and see how I can tap into the skill sets that you have and build that community again. But again, what's beautiful about that is that the fact that you started off with the mindset of servitude is what's brought it great success. Are you with me? Whereas some people start with it being a business, and some people don't focus on a product. focus on the person or the people. And in your case, this is what it was. Let's build this community. Who are the people? What do they want to learn? And it's almost birthed from that. Even the model that you still have within Stock Pickers Academy, for those that are not part of it, is free subscription. Anyone that wants to do one-on-ones, come and see me.
Yeah.
Right? And that's like, and you're still giving game. It's been a blessing in this pandemic period where so many people are like, how can I, as I said, not everybody needs to be a business person or entrepreneur, but I believe everybody should have another stream of income. And you've given people an opportunity to do that and leverage that. And there are so many people that are watching this live, I'm sure, and many other friends that I know personally that are in the Stock because I check it and I'm like, a few more of my people have joined it from a conversation and just seeing you take action in that. And I fully commend you in that. So how did the City Jobs coaching come about? Did that come before Stock Pickers Academy?
That's been happening already. And
yeah.
I think it's got 10 followers on Instagram, but behind the scenes, a lot.
It's been done.
So when from when I started, every level that I've reached in my life has always been, okay, who am I helping up?
Yeah.
Where's the next Debs? Right? Where's the next person who's even better than Debs? That's what I'm thinking.
I love that.
Where's the person that I can prepare so when they start, their starting point was even better than my starting point? That's the way I think.
I love that. I love that.
And then pass it on. So I've got a whole mentor network that's just by code. It's not like written down somewhere. I just know that if someone came to me and said, I want to be a lawyer and I've got an interview at Clorton May, I've got the connect. Someone says I want to be an accountant and I've got some accountants, I've got the connect. So by networking, that was part A. The next was reaching out. And then the rest is connecting people. So you need to know what people do, first of all. Once you know what people do, then you know who you can direct people to later. Right? So I've always been a networker, and that networking helped me to help others. So now it helps me reduce my time because now I can divert some mentees to other mentees that I mentored in the past that are closer to them in age. And every now and again, I do take on one or two and I help them. And being a mentor is tough because you have to just forget about whether they appreciate it, whether they don't appreciate it. Many people don't come back and say thank you. Many people might get the job and not even tell you that they got the job. And you hear it a year later. Right? And you just have to be comfortable with that and say, look, listen, I was doing it for the greater good of our community, not necessarily for praise.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I share testimonials. And you know what? The difference is now, the younger generation, they seem to be more grateful. They'll literally come back, they'll write some post on LinkedIn and at me, or they'll write some stuff in their story and at me. And before, I think maybe it's just technology as well, but most people were silent. No one will even know that I helped them, or no one would know that, you know, some of the stuff that I've done. Some of them don't even know what I've done behind the scenes for them, like haggling MDs, like hire this guy.
Yeah, yeah. And if anyone knows Debs, you're persistent. You're persistent. And
yeah. I'm unruly. I will break down the door to help someone else get through.
Yeah.
And take the stick that comes with it. That's me.
I was going to say, just before I wrap up with a few questions, and I leave the door open for some of our viewers to kind of jump in. So guys, do start throwing your questions in as well. There's been loads of comments, so thank you for the comments, for the likes, and keep them coming. And remember, you can use the plane in icon to share this live with other people as well. But the last two or few questions I wanted to kind of share. When it comes to Stock Pickers Academy, what is the next stage, or what do you envision for that over the next 3 to 5 years?
I mean,
sorry, pause, my bad. Before I do that, just for those that are not aware of what Stock Pickers Academy is, yes, we know that we've done an overview. What would you say are the stages, or what would you say are the key practices in Stock Pickers Academy for those that are not aware of it, that are listening to this interview?
Okay, first of all, everybody has a voice. If you are a beginner, talk to us about what trend you are seeing in the world. At work, I work in IT. I've noticed a lot of people, a lot of businesses are spending a lot of money on internet security because a lot of their workforce is working from home now. So they're at greater risk from hacking. Everyone has a voice. We will turn it into a stock. We will turn what you're seeing in your day-to-day. Every voice becomes a stock. Right? My guy Norris, right? He told us, he's a doctor. right? He's not a stocks guy. He told us that, listen, gene editing is getting a lot of attention, right? There's this new technology called CRISPR. He said, okay, cool. Hold my beer, my supermalt, because I don't drink. Yeah. So we found a stock, Horizon Discovery. It was a discovery. In fact, we didn't even find the stock straight away. It took 1 month for us to find the stock, but we found it and we invested in it. A lot of people invested in it.
And that means it's still fresh. It's untapped.
Yeah. So the stock was there. We just couldn't find a UK stock that had that CRISPR thing. And then someone found it. And then I bought it. A lot of people bought it. The stock made 80%.
Really? So when you trade, are you more of a technical trader?
No, so I am what I'll call an investor. So stock pickers is actually for the many, right? People who've got 1K, 5K, 3K. You're not looking to try and make a killing.
What would you say?
You're looking to try and target.
If someone wanted to start out and then
zero.
Minimum? Sorry?
I've got clients, right, who don't have funds to invest. They've paid for the course and they are practicing with the virtual sheet that I created for them.
Okay.
So they've got the skill and they're taking it seriously. It could be they just bought a house. It could be they're just not liquid.
Yeah.
Or they're in debt and they're trying to pay it back. But they're still learning the skill and applying it. And those are the ones that are going to do the best in the future. Because if you can take a virtual seriously and use what I'm teaching and I'm seeing your results and it's in line and you're hitting your 20%. Once you learn the skill, you learn the skills, like getting your driving license without a car. When you can afford a car, you get a car, right? So, you know, there's no minimum. I think early days I said there was a minimum, but you learn as you go along. Okay, there's trading onto lower costs. Even if you start with £500, it just means you're going to be in one stock. That's somewhere. Yeah. And in the meantime, use the virtual to take part in other stocks and build your knowledge and your learning and your interaction and your engagement. Yeah. So it's crazy. The numbers I've seen. Someone sent me today. They've doubled their portfolio. This is someone who'd never bought a stock before. I haven't doubled my portfolio. Right. So it's been interesting for me because I wasn't sure if I can impart knowledge to someone who's never traded stocks before and then watch them grow. But I'd say nearly 70–80% of the entire people who've taken my lessons have made enough profit to pay for the course and some at the bare minimum. Wow.
Wow. There's a quote from Jim Quick that I love, and I use it when I'm teaching various topics. And the quote goes like this: the ability to teach is the ability to learn twice. The ability to teach is the ability to
learn from my clients.
And it sharpens your skills.
I learn from my clients, and I'm a better investor than I was before lockdown. Because now I've got a watch list that's got 500 stocks instead of 100 stocks. Wow. It took 2 years to make 100 stocks on my watch list. Now I've got 500 in 6 months later, right? And it's great also because in the group, people now give each other fivers. So the group is creating wealth as well and acknowledgement. And there's more of a giving culture rather than just a take. They're always going to be free riders. But nothing better than seeing a beginner making £30 a month just by sharing important information with everyone else. And then someone gets that information, finds a stock, makes money, and then says, thank you, here's a £5. It's lockdown, I can't buy you a drink, but here's a £5 in your Cash App or your PayPal.
And would you say that the Stock Pickers Academy is still good for all people, beginners, intermediaries?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you talked about the next step. Ultimately, for me, I've got a lot of ideas. In my mentoring club, we might form little groups and they'll form little investment clubs with my oversight, right? Using my strategy. Ultimately, I want to manage money. I want to manage your footballers, your artists, you know, like I want to find a way to set up a fund, raise capital and do this thing big. And I've got the plans are in place. It's just about getting the people, right? But
what about the legalities? Is there going to be a lot of loopholes with the legalities and stuff like that?
No, I've got a building. I've got a fund in Mayfair. Everything's like it can happen.
Okay.
So for me, it's just raising the capital.
Okay.
I need to get like a couple mil together from high net worth, and we'll do it. And what will happen is I would actually work in the fund with that team, and we will manage it together. But it'll be like my fund within a fund.
Of course, makes sense. Yeah.
That's like the next step. But in terms of like the group, there's the free big Telegram group, which is a free for all. There's the mentoring club, which is like me just growing a group of people, and no one's getting left behind there. Everyone's going to make money. No one's getting left behind there. And then you've got the WhatsApp group, which is the core, the OGs, you know, and people in the mentoring club, they get through to that up until it hits the limit, and then obviously I can't offer it anymore. Right? So getting there early, otherwise. About 1,500 now.
Yeah, something. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, that place is a shark tank. You've got people with lots of different strategies. And if you're a beginner and you just want to try and see if you can make money there, I'll tell you what's very interesting. The genders on my clients, I'd say 80% of them female, 20% male.
Bro,
so I've learned a lot about the different genders. Man, them need to step up.
80% female.
Yeah.
That's against the grain, the statistics.
I think the guys
amazing.
Guys want to learn themselves.
Are you just talking about members or people that are active practitioners?
The ones in the mentoring club itself. So the ones that have taken sessions and courses.
Oh, amazing, amazing. I love
so the guys, what I've seen, man them, and this is where like we all need to like step up. We like to learn ourselves, lose money, and then we'll come and take the course. This is why sometimes I say women make better investors, men make better risk takers.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I didn't actually deep it that way before, because I'm not like that.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing, and what the reason I was excited, because a lot of the people I have in my mentoring books, or the clients that I see go the furthest, are the women. And the reason being, I realize the women are teachable, whereas ego gets the guys. And they're like, well, I kind of know. And I'm like, listen, there's no ego here. I'm here to learn as well, right? But then I see the women will ask questions, will be like, you know what? I'm not with it today, can I stop? Whereas the guys will try and force it, right? But they're not learning anything. And I'm like, there is something about in the day and age that we're seeing nowadays and we're seeing it now, especially women of color and the positions that they're taking in the workplace nowadays. We're seeing a massive growth, like a high influx in that regard. And it begins to show that,
I think
we need to,
the biggest trend that I've seen, I feel like, I think women are more willing to spend on their development than men.
I love that.
And it's not just jobs, it's other areas of their life as well. I think, interesting trend. Just an interesting trend.
Yeah, cool. We can go on forever. Where last time when we sat in the car,
well, I've got time today.
Hours.
Sorry?
But what I want to do, because I tried to keep it to 90 minutes, and please remember, for those of you guys that are on here, remember that Debs is going to be doing a phenomenal workshop about stocks and shares and the like tomorrow. So do sign up for that workshop. It's absolutely free, so that's full credit to Debs for giving you guys that game. So that is in the link. But you don't need to come off the live just yet. Just know that in my bio, that link is there. And if you have any questions regarding that, feel free to DM me or whatever in that regard. But if you have any questions, bring your questions through so we can use the next 10 to 15 minutes to pitch that to Debs and move forward. And also let us know, how have you found this IG live with Debidan or Sakita? I think it's been absolutely phenomenal. And we've shared everything from his upbringing to so many things. So as the questions are coming through, Debs, I'll just ask one or two questions. What's one of your greatest fears?
Getting broke, bro. I'll be honest, not having money. Like, just getting, like, you work for what? 10 years? Anything that can happen that can get you back to that place where it's almost like you don't have money again. Yeah. After everything you've been through, all the jobs you've done, you know, and that's always, that can always happen, you know. One thing I tell people, money comes and goes. 100. Right? If you're choosing your life partners based on what they have financially, let those things be a bonus. Obviously, they're needed, right? Whether it's men choosing women or women choosing men, like money comes and goes.
Yeah.
I've seen both. I've had a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money. I've had a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money. I've seen both sides of the coin, right? And it's just, I think, is it a fair? Yeah, it's a fair.
Yeah,
It's a little fair.
I think that's all right. I think even connected to that, one thing I would say is that's why I tell people about skill set. Develop a skill that pays you that pays you forever, and that's what you've developed, and that's what you're sharing. And even when I do the forex trading, because you know me, I'm more of my forex trading. And one of the things I've always said is that mastery is more important than money. When you master it, because money can literally begin to affect you, where you're now over leveraging, and that's where people can go broke very, very quickly. But where that level of mastery comes into play, you would always have money and begin to level up in that and know how to use it as a tool rather than using it as an idol in that respect. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Well, what's one of your major highs of 2020?
My major highs of 2020 is, to be honest, stock pickers, man. Just seeing what it is now. Because one thing I tell my clients is, yes, you're learning a skill now. How old are you though? What's deeper than you learning a skill now that's going to help you now in your future is the fact that when you have children, when you have siblings, nephews, nieces, because of what you now know, you're going to pass that knowledge on to them. They're not going to reach your age before they start learning. And that's generational wealth. That's how you get generational wealth. When information, so I can't remember who said it, but the person with the most information wins. They're getting the information earlier than you got it because of what you're learning.
Yeah, I love that. Let's take these questions. Gentle Chucks. And guys, bring your questions in because we're going to be wrapping up soon. And people end up...
What's the one stock you always wish you could have bought?
I like that question.
Tesla.
What's that, Tesla?
Yeah. Tesla was actually alerting as a buy alert in March for me. I chose Snapchat instead. Yeah.
Oh, you bought Snapchat instead?
Everything was alerting. Apple, Tesla, Snapchat, PayPal. And I chose Snapchat because I felt that they were most undervalued. And you know what? I'm right, in a way. Snapchat has done 500% return. Tesla has done 500% return.
In the same
you know,
time,
but there's stocks that have done more. One thing I try not to do is get emotional on stocks.
100%.
If you know a stock called Novasit, you would know that it's done nearly 17,000%.
What? 17,000?
They make the COVID testing kits.
17,000 since when?
17,000% in 1 year. That's forex money, bro.
You know my face.
And the amazing thing, right? So the amount of money that I've made between March and now is money that people will struggle to make day trading, which is meant to be fast cash. Because COVID has given I've done like 16K, and this has been low risk. So there's a concept in investing which is called your risk weighted return. Did you gamble or did you not gamble? Right? And with very, very good risk weighted returns, like I would say I've done like nearly 14 grand. And just by £200 here, £300 here, £400 there, not gambling, not putting huge trades on that came off, right? And that's my best ever return.
It's the return.
And that's actually, that wouldn't have happened without stock pickers. Yeah, that wouldn't have happened without stock pickers, because stock pickers has given me more stocks. Having a group, diversity of thought, has given me more stocks to look at. Before, I was just looking at 100 names and maybe 3 might alert. I went 6 months without putting a transaction on once. Wow. Whereas now, COVID has given opportunities in the stock market where I bought Groupon the other day and within 2 weeks it doubled in price. Wow. So if I invested £400, that's a double. Right?
That's great. That's great. Let's look at.
Are there any more questions? Because I can't see them.
That's great. I'll take them for you anyway and I'll read them out. Have you got any plans to start a young people version of Stock Pickers Academy? I feel it's so needed for the youth of today.
The youth are welcome to join the chat. Yeah. There's no age limit. We've got mums in there, grandpas in there, teenagers in there. We've got plumbers in there, builders in there. We've got teachers, doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, music artists. We've got everyone in there. Everyone's welcome. We don't need to create a separate. Get the kids in early. Put them into the furnace.
As I said, they're buying Nikes, but they should be buying Nike stocks.
Yeah, if there's anyone you know, your sisters, your brothers, your little cousins, put them in because they will learn.
What books would you recommend for someone beginning, independent of joining stock pickers? What would you say is a great book someone could look into?
The Chimp Paradox is good.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of the book, but I've heard of the term. So I've used it.
Yeah, the book is good. There's a book called, my favorite investing book, everyone knows, is called, well, there are two. One is called Market Wizards, New Market Wizards, that series. And the other one is, I forgot the name. How can I forget the name?
They'll come back.
It's by Howard Marks, and it's called The Most Important Thing. On common sense for the thoughtful investor.
Uncommon Sense for the Thoughtful Investor. What are you reading right now?
Do you know what? Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm dyslexic.
No.
But I found out late.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, bro. And I found out late, obviously, because in school I was hitting my grades.
Are you
But
serious?
what people don't realize, right, is I was perfecting. So I wasn't finishing exams. And I was still getting really, really high marks because I learned the art of perfectionism. So when I read a book here, if you guys see the way I read books, I'm just flicking through the pages, scanning. But you know, I can read and I can read. It's so emotionally taxing for me to read. So what I do is I scan. So when I did the eye test, they said that most people read from left to right.
Yeah.
But I read, my eyes stay in the middle and they just flick like that.
No way.
Yeah.
Dibs.
And that helped. And then I read a bit more about dyslexia and I realized it helps my trading.
Your trading.
Because my ability, right, comes from being able to take overload of information, but it's like you're just picking out the bits that are important.
100.
So I can filter information very quickly.
Well, you take the strong
But people
parts.
ask me, how can I keep up the Telegram chat? Listen, I know when there's waffle and when there's something I need to pay attention to. Right? So I didn't realize that there was a strong link between that and dyslexia. The other book, which is good for funds, is called, I can see over there, I can't remember. Effective Investing by Mark Dampier.
Okay, Effective Investing. Cool. Once again, for those that are on the workshop tomorrow, Debs, if you can, please add those books to either the...
Yeah, you know what? It's all on the website. The website, stockpickersacademy.com, has recommended books. It's got recommended podcasts. It's got a lot of free information on there.
Okay,
so definitely check out their website. But also, all these questions, ask them in the group.
Yeah.
I'm just one person. I actually created a group by taking maybe 200-300 people from my LinkedIn and just dumping them in there as a social experiment.
I remember how
and then I thought,
yeah. Debs, we spoke about Debs didn't even say you're joining today. I was like, Debs, what's this? I'd be like, listen, it just shows you the person that you are, but your motive.
And then I put my social network in, and that was it. I said, you're all gonna mix, and we're gonna create something.
Let's see any more questions before we wrap up this evening. It's been great so far. Once again, thank you, Debs, for your time and sharing so candidly with us all. What questions do I have in there? Would you consider changing your strategy when we return to normal post-COVID and with the volatility?
Absolutely. I'll tell you something. When the sun is shining, make hay. When the sun is shining, make hay. If you just happen to be in a position where you're on lockdown, you're working from home, and you have extra time on your hands, adjust your strategy, adjust your time to be more active in the market. And when it's footfall again and it's back to work, when it is, someone keeps asking, what is a Telegram? Just look in the link in my bio and the link to the group is there. But when the sun is shining, make hay. Before this, I had to adjust to this period. When this period ends and it's not 100% wins every day or every other day, what you have to do is you have to revert back. And what I mean by that is, you know, you're gonna be happy with 40% returns again. This time last year, if you got 40% in 6 months, you were happy.
Of course.
Now, people are getting 95% and they're waiting for the century.
Bruv, it's much better than an ISA account. What, 2%?
You know, yeah, I know. I mean, I got out Rolls Royce at 95%. I got out at 95%. If I was, I need to make a cent. I'll tell you what, before this period, I'd only got 100% on, I'd only got achieved a 100% return on a stock 3 times, twice
Wow.
in my life.
Wow.
And then I saw these beginners getting 300%, 400%. But the thing is, you have to be careful not to get too emotional.
Yeah.
Because for me, if you make 50% on a grand, that's £500.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you can hold a £100 position and try and make it 900%. For me, I only care about my return. And that number, do I like that number? And does it contribute to my overall target of trying to get 20% each year?
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Emotions out.
That probably relates to the next question: is how do you constantly stay on top of your game?
Oh, I'm a machine. If I do say so myself, like I wake up and I think, what next? Right. And I just, it's focus. It's just a focus. And it comes from being able to sacrifice your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Less Netflix for me these days. And I actually don't spend so much time researching stocks. I let the group do that. My picks are Snapchat, Horizon Discovery, Sonos, right? But a lot of my picks have come from my clients. Conversations from the group.
Strategy to the data that you're
I manage ideas. I created a group. The group gets ideas. I manage the ideas. I take the ideas from the groups and I package it into my watch list and I apply my process to it to get my prices. So I'm efficient. I don't spend time researching stocks. I'm not a researcher. I'm a trader.
I love that.
What I do is I know how to filter the right information, and I know I'm the price guy. They say don't time the market because time in the market beats time in the market. I don't agree with that, Warren. Mr. Warren Buffett, I don't agree with that. I think you should always try to time the market. The reality is you won't be able to time the market perfectly often. But if you can get the timing right 1 out of 5 times, that's going to churn your profit.
100%.
And that's what we aim to do. We try to time the market with the knowledge that we won't always get it right. But if you can just time the market right 1 in 5 times, that's great, because that part of your portfolio is liquid, is always churning out money, whilst your time in the market trades, where you're holding the bag or you're looking to get more, they will do their thing. And that's fine. So you need both. Patience.
I love that.
And the biggest advice you need to have, that I give, is you have to be open-minded to upgrade and evolve whatever investing style you have. So what you're learning with stock pickers now may not be as effective in 5 years' time. So you have to evolve with the time. Just the same way your apps on your iPhone, no matter how good they are, they're always getting upgrades. I'm always upgrading the watch list and my process and the system.
Sharpen your axe. To close, because I love to keep this at 90 minutes, there's going to be a lot more devs will share tomorrow. I'll leave with this question, which I think is a great one. Would you consider sharing your story with secondary school students in Peckham? Which we already know the answer to, but I'll leave you to answer.
Yeah, because I do that already.
Exactly.
I do that already. Yeah, you know the answer. You know the answer, bro.
Yeah.
Do I invest in index funds? Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but I'll get in and out.
Great. With that said, because we joined at 8:05 on the dot, we've done exactly 90 minutes. And if you know me, I like to be a man of my word and in time. But yeah, as I said, many of us, me devs, we can talk about this for hours, like literally till the cows come home. But I just wanted to say,
I mean, just see you in the group.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And
if you want to ask more questions, just join the Telegram group and ask them in there. But you don't just get my answers; you get answers from everyone else. Because there's a lot of expertise in that room. There are a couple CEOs in that room.
That's it.
In fact, the other day, someone posted a fund that looked interesting to buy. And I told them, well, actually, the CEO of that fund used to be in this chat.
Wow. Wow. And listen, like I said again, once again, Mr. Debidan Osakisa, thank you very much. Do remember, guys, if you're a part of it, even if you don't want to join the Zoom workshop tomorrow, send it out to friends, send it out to family. Let your kids sit in and just watch it. They might be bored, but at least just give them a dose of something. It's better for them to get a dose of something than not get anything at all. So once again, to my dear friend and brother, Mr. Debidan Osakita, it's not only an honor to know you and to see you grow, but to see that you're a change agent.
Don't gas me, bro. Don't gas me.
No, but genuinely, like you're a student of your craft and you're a true servant of the Lord. And I'm grateful for what God is doing in your life, doing through you and with your community, and more grace to you in all that you do. So once again, thank you to my dear brother.
No, it's a pleasure,
See
bro.
you tomorrow.
Honestly, man, it's a pleasure.
Have a great evening, guys. Thanks for tuning in and thank you for commenting as well. Have a great evening. Mr. EDA from the Entrepreneur Advancer. God bless. Peace. The link is in my bio.
See you all. Thanks for tuning in.
Peace. Take care. Bye.
Take care, guys.